Україна,
Понад усе,
Україна,
понад усе.
героям України тричі,
Слава, слава, слава.
ворогам України тричі.
Смерть, смерть, смерть.
Good afternoon, my friends, and once again, welcome to our rally today. We had a time of music today, a time of silence, when we exchanged some silence with our colleagues here on the side. And now we will continue the rally as usual. But there is a lot that needs to be said, my friends. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate every Ukrainian in the world for the symbolic victory of Alexander Usyk yesterday. Now, Usyk has been truly a symbol of Ukrainian resistance lately. He's been a symbol of Ukraine to a large extent. And it's actually kind of interesting that Dubois, before the fight, he was having a little bit of inflammatory rhetoric, comparing how he's going to win to the Russo-Ukrainian war, implying that it's not going very well. Well, we can see how that ended up for him. Time shows, and we can see that this written in history, that every single time that somebody says, oh, you know, Ukraine stands no chance, they are disproven. My personal favorite was Zhirinovsky. Every Ukrainian knows this name, of one of the most disgusting, most virulent, most idiotic individuals in human history. He was a Russian politician, funnily enough, the leader of the Russian quote-unquote liberal party, which is funny. It has literally nothing to do with liberalism. It was, of course, controlled opposition. Zhirinovsky was there to say that the regime is not doing enough atrocities for them to do even more. That was his job. Zhirinovsky had a pretty famous quote back in the day. He said, "We will win, or I will kick the bucket." Well, my friends, a few weeks later, Zhirinovsky died. I think it's truly symbolic, this quote and many other quotes said in the past. It's truly symbolic for this whole situation. It's as the saying goes, it's not over till it's over. And it's true in this situation above all others, my friends. But we must also not underestimate the Russian terrorist regime, for they have proven themselves to be a very lively piece of filth in this world, a very persistent stain on this planet. But my friends, it is time for the free world to together make the united decision to finally erase this stain from our world, to end the Russian terrorist regime for good, and make sure that they do not hurt anyone anymore. I can guarantee you that if Russia as a regime would just disappear, the next day a huge amount of the world's problems would disappear with them. You know why that is? It's because Russia funds every single terrorist groups that might even peripherically work in their favor. But make no mistake, my friends, Russia does not only support those who 100% of the time support them. Sometimes Russia may support certain causes that actually might criticize them a little bit, to give some futile, some pointless criticism that doesn't matter at all. But they will fund them for one reason, because they work in their favor. This is the case for every isolationist party in the free world, my friends. Russia has their filthy hands everywhere. Make no mistake. They have their dirty touch in the far left and the far right parties in the free world. Make no mistake. We cannot trust people who are on the opposite side of the political spectrum simply because on one side they support Russia. Both the polar opposites, both the extremes support Russia. This has been a fact. Only in the center, only the moderates do not support Russia, because they know better, my friends. They know that we cannot simply commit ourselves to extremes. We cannot answer complicated questions with simplified answers. Now, this situation with Russia, it does have a solution that is quite clear, but it's not an easy solution. It is difficult to achieve. But as long as we are together, my friends, as long as we stay together, we stand together against the Russian terrorist regime, then Russia stands no chance against a united free world. You all know, my friends, I've been quite critical of Trump lately. However, now he's finally starting to do the right thing. and providing Ukraine with the Patriot systems, with the Patriot missiles, with the armaments that Ukraine needs, finally. Took him long enough. Some may argue that this change of heart is due to certain controversies in the White House right now. I won't debate that. There may be some truth to that, but truth of the matter is, my friends, even if the reasoning behind this is selfish, aid is still aid. If somebody does a good deed, but for selfish reasons, sure, it's not the same as doing it with good intentions, but it's still a good deed. And it needs to be recognized as such, my friend. And we recognize this act, this latest act done by the American administration, as something good. And we are grateful for that. We criticize whoever deserves criticism. If somebody criticizes us, as long as they make a good point, we will not simply start lashing out against them. But the truth of the matter is, my friends, that the Ukrainian cause is correct and the Russian cause is irredeemable. So it's very, very difficult to find somebody who even peripherically supports Russia, or opposes Ukraine for that matter, who's making a good point. It's basically impossible. We've seen these snake oil salesmen so many times. It gives me nausea to look at them at this point, my friends. These Orbans and Fizzos who scream and shout about peace in the world, who say, oh, we should never stand against Russia, we should not escalate this situation. My friends, how many times has Russia escalated this situation? How many times has Russia crossed the lines? How many times has Russia broken international agreements? Countless times. Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's a lovely day. It's a lovely day here for a ride in the bike. You know, we see some people having fun. It's very good to see. Very good to see, my friends. Now, you know, my friends, we believe in freedom of speech. We believe that people should be able to defend the cause that they defend. And we also believe that people should be able to defend their cause. To simply shout something incoherently like the pro-Russian side does is no good. That is why we invite people to ask us questions and to interact with us and to learn as much as possible about this situation, because sometimes it's not the fault of the people themselves. Sometimes people live in an echo chamber. Sometimes all they have is Russian propaganda around them. How can we expect somebody to know any better if the only information available is fed to them by Russia? Like a sewer pipe flowing with unmentionables. Now, my friends, I believe we all agree on this, that we should tell people the truth. Because if we don't, then they will believe things that may not be true at all. That is why we should speak. That is why we should interact with people. That is why we do interact. That is why we come here to 10 Downing Street on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock and on Sundays at 3 o'clock. So please come if you can make it and show your support. It's unbelievably important that you do. Now, my friends, I think it's very important to focus on some of our main points and not deviate into secondary points. Point number one, unity in the free world. Point number two, a clear objective of destruction of the Russian terrorist regime, and not just weakening, not just stopping them. The Russian terrorist regime needs to be disassembled fully. This needs to be a different change of government that happened after the Soviet Union, after the fall of the Soviet Union. Because when the Soviet Union fell, did it become a good country? No! Some crooks were deposed, other crooks took power. That's what happened. My friends, if Russia is left to their own means, they will again and again and again choose dictatorship. They will always choose dictatorship. They have been conditioned with generations of dictatorships to choose those dictatorships. How can they know any better? This is why there needs to be a de-Putinization of Russia and a de-Russification of the areas occupied by the Russian terrorist regime. This, my friends, is a fact, and it's something that needs to be done. There was a denazification of Nazi Germany after they lost World War II. Oh, nice car there. There was a denazification. And nowadays, we need to have a deputinization of Russia as well, my friends. Make no mistake though, this disgusting ideology, it was not started by Putin. This has always existed as part of Russia. Sometimes it got a little bit better, sometimes it got a little bit worse, but usually it was very bad indeed. Usually, Russia ruled the people subservient to them with an iron fist and a boot on their throat. That is always how they rule, that is always how they will rule, until they are no more as an entity. And that, my friends, is what the free world should strive for together. All together, we will win.
All together, we will win.
All together, thank you. We will win.
All together, we will win.
All together, we will win.
All together, we will win.
Russia is a terrorist state.
Russia is the terrorist state.
Russia is a terrorist state.
Russia is the terrorist state.
Russia is a terrorist state.
Russia is the terrorist state.
Help Ukraine protect peace.
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 Fighter jets for Ukraine.
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 Air defense 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 for Ukraine.
Long range missiles 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 for Ukraine.
Let Ukraine strike back.
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 More sanctions on Russia.
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 Seize Russian assets.
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 Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Героям України тричі!
Слава! Слава! Слава!
Ворогам України тричі!
Смерть! Смерть! Смерть!
And now, my friends, we're going to have a short musical break.